I'm Prince Donnell, and while all the business gurus share their million-dollar success stories, I'm going to share what can and will go wrong in your entrepreneurial career. In this video, I'm going to share a real-life story of the mistake that I made when accepting funding for my business so that you can use that to better prepare your company before signing the dotted line on that business funding, because all loans come with the trade-off. First, let me disclose that although I'm against business funding for inexperienced entrepreneurs, I leverage the power of funding to scale my company, and I think all experienced entrepreneurs should as well. I use everything from business credit cards, business loans, and even funding from my merchant service providers to scale my company because I think it's an extremely smart thing to do where you can use other people's money, OPM, and debt in order to make profit. But it's important to note that business loans are not going to help you with getting paid. And I think that's where the confusion comes, where you accept the business funding from this credit card, you pay the money for the product or the service, and you magically start receiving sales. And those are not mutually exclusive. In my opinion, business funding is meant to add fuel to a fire that's already burning, meaning that you have the necessary skill sets and you have applied those skill sets without the business funding to start producing customers. And now the funding is meant to come in to scale it and make it faster. The skill of marketing and sales is what gets you paid. And if business funding is used in the wrong way, without you understanding the skill set of marketing and sales, you will go into debt faster than you can sneeze. And before you know it, all of your cash flow is going to be restricted and moving towards this business loan, and you have no profit at the end of the month. In fact, you will be in the negative. So let's get into an example of how I used business funding with one of my previous companies and how that funding turned to failure because I was not properly prepared. This beauty product right here was a $50,000 failure, but let's explain. We had an e-commerce store and we sold beauty supply products to women. One of the products that we decided to launch was lashes. At first, we manufactured the product from a vendor in the United States because we did not need a ton of units since we were just launching the product to our customer base. As we started to move a lot more units of the lash product, we realized it would be a better idea to find a vendor overseas that could give us the product at larger bulks so we could decrease our costs per unit to maximize profitability. The benefit of working with a vendor overseas is that you're decreasing your cost per unit for the product, but they do require you to buy at much larger bulks that you may not necessarily have the cash flow to manage. We were required to buy 10,000 units for them to even start production. Our idea was, just like you, to find business funding, to utilize, pay the invoice to start production on the product, and then begin to sell the units to pay back the loan. But what happens when a monkey wrench is thrown into the scenario where now you don't have the cash flow to begin paying back the loan? So there were two things that happened. Number one was delayed production. When we paid the invoice, they gave us a set date of when the product would be finished and shipped to our warehouse. And then a few weeks later, they said, you know what? It's going to take a little longer. So we had to push back the launch date of the product from the actual desired date, but that did not stop the fact that the business loan still needed to be paid. So imagine having to take your profit that you're earning from other products that you're selling in order to pay back the business loan for a product that's still stuck in production overseas that you don't have the ability to make money on. That is the reality. So lesson number one is, before you take business funding, I really believe that you should have multiple verticals established where you are generating cash flow and profitability so that if a mistake or monkey wrench occurs, you still have the ability to pay this business loan so that it does not default. And this is why I say that inexperienced entrepreneurs may not be best suited for a business loan, because you may not have those verticals established or different products or services to be able to cover you in the event that were to occur. Here's the second problem. If you've never had your product manufactured overseas and shipped to the United States, then it is a possibility that it could get stuck at customs for a number of days. We had our lash product sitting in customs for 21 days, and we had to push back our release date further while still having to pay the loan. And if we did not have the verticals in place, the loan would have been defaulted by now. So again, the lesson here is that if you accept the business funding, never spend it on something that you've never experienced before, because you don't know what the roadblock, the hurdles are going to be that are going to prevent you from generating revenue to pay back that loan. Stay in your lane and the thing that you understand and you can control. And that's why I say that loans are best suited for experienced entrepreneurs who have done this before. The product is here. We finally got it from customs. We created all the content, professional photos, launched it on the website, released it to thousands of our customers via email, and the product is selling like hotcakes. But then the customer service emails start to roll in. First customer, hey, the glue's not working when it comes to the lashes. We're like, you know what? Maybe that was just a one-off. Second, a third, a fourth, the 10th, the 20th. So we stopped, took the product off of the site, and we realized that 30% of the product was defective because the glue was not working. Now, of course, this was a manufacturer problem, so we had to get our money back from them. But at the immediate moment, we had to save the customer relationship and do right by the customer. So first thing we did was put the product on sale, and we ended up losing $25 per unit. And we had to add to the notes that the glue no longer works for our lashes, which that's a bad customer experience and a horrible sell on copy of an e-commerce store website. But then second to that, the customers who already received the lashes, we provided them with a coupon code to save the customer relationship and allow them to be able to buy more products on our store to offset the cost of the glue from the lashes that they already purchased. So what we intended to use the loan for didn't actually materialize into the result that we expected from the use of the loan and profitability. So to be honest, we really just washed the cost of the loan because of the sell price of the product and after coupons and expense that was associated, but there's still a major trade-off. There was still interest on the loan. With all the variables, loopholes, and challenges, this loan did not materialize into the profitability that I thought that it would, but I'm still left with having to pay the loan. I am not saying that every situation is going to be like this when you get business funding. I'm sure that you can find entrepreneurs out there who have used business funding and turned it into profitability. In fact, more times than not, I have used business funding and it has turned into profitability outside of a very specific scenario such as this one. But the last thing I want is for an inexperienced entrepreneur to take advice on YouTube around business funding, and you may not be prepared for all of the variables that come and how to pivot out of it. And more importantly, you want to make good on your promises when you're receiving business funding, because you never know when you're going to need it again. Like paying your actual bill back and establishing a relationship with the actual funding companies are key, because 3 years from now, when you need $1 million, they won't blink twice because you have the necessary cash flow, you have the profitability, your statements look good, and you've made good on all of your previous loans. So they have no problem with paying you this one. Number one, business funding should be utilized to add fuel to a fire that already exists, to a business that's already moving, utilizing the skill sets that you've already had to generate revenue. But business funding should not be used as an experiment or a what if and high potential that this could work when you don't have experience in knowing if it will or not. That in itself is a means for disaster and could lead to you defaulting on your business funding and ultimately ruining your relationship with your credit and not being able to get any funding in the future when you're more experienced. Number two, always have a cushion before accepting business funding. Make sure you have a set amount of payments already saved so that if a monkey wrench or variable comes into play, you still have the ability to pay for this business loan. As you can see, wrapped up and weaved into this story that I told you, we had other verticals established with different products that were already successful prior to us accepting business funding for this particular product here. So even if this didn't work out, we were using the profitability from other products on our store to be able to pay back the actual business loan. But imagine if this were the very first product and this didn't work out, I wouldn't be here today. to tell you the story. And number 3, just a little disclaimer, we never ended up getting our money back from the vendor overseas. We ended up taking the loss and paying back the loan out of our own pocket of profitability. So a lesson learned here is that when you're working with overseas vendors specific, that you want to have contracts in place that they must pay in the event that they don't do their part or create something that is defective where you are going to end up eating a loss if they don't do their part. I think this is most important. Make sure you have the skill set of sales and marketing. Business funding is not going to help you get sales. Your skill set of sales is going to help you get sales. Your skill set of marketing is going to help you to acquire leads that turn into customers. As an example, I had the skill set of understanding Facebook ads, which allowed me to launch this product. I had the skill set of writing great copy, which allowed me to launch this via email. And I had the skill set of sales in order to write out beautiful descriptions on the website and knowing how to package a product all together so that customers have the ability to buy. Now imagine I don't have that skill set. I accepted business funding. I bought 10,000 units and I had no skill set around sales and marketing, which I see entrepreneurs do all the time. And it's the most ridiculous thing in the world because now you're dealing with a completely separate issue, which has nothing to do with the vendor. It has to do with the fact that you suck in knowing how to acquire customers and you're sitting on 10,000 units that can't be sold. And last but not least, this could be an entirely separate business video, but your problems are not the customer's problems. As you can see in the video, we had to provide refunds, coupon codes, and even discounts on the product due to a problem with our vendor. But our goal was to do right by the customer so they can continue to purchase from us over and over. And in exchange, we lost profitability because of it. Make sure you subscribe. And this month, for one of our subscribers, we are giving away a one-of-one Kangaroo Heroes NFT skateboard, which was an NFT project launched by my brand, and I'm excited to be able to give this to you. Make sure you subscribe. And please, if you have a business funding horror story, share it in the comments so we can help new, inexperienced entrepreneurs with making better decisions when it comes to accessing funding so that they can be better in their entrepreneurial journeys. Last but not least, share this with an entrepreneur that you know. My goal is to provide a different perspective in the marketplace so entrepreneurs have the ability to make better decisions. So please share this. Your support would mean the world to me.